And there we go. Good morning, everybody. It's another grey day here where I'm based at the moment, but I'm sure it's going to be a good session that we've got this morning because I'm joined with another Canvas expert or Canvas legend in the world of using Canvas. I've got Khaled El-ankar with us today from Hull College Group. Good morning, Cal. How are you doing today?
Not too bad at all. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem, no problem. How's I know you're based up in Grimsby, a little bit further north than me. Have you got the downpours of rain this morning as well?
Yeah, this morning it was chucking it down. Yeah.
I think that's actually a really interesting point that we can go with there. You've used the term chucking it down. I think we'll have to be careful with sort of some of the language people maybe put in, but obviously we've got people joining us from all over the world. The previous sessions we've had people from Kenya, we've had people from Singapore, Australia. So if we can get people to put in the chat where they're actually from, it'll be interesting for us to know. But I'd also be really interesting to know what other terms people use for when it's raining quite heavily. I wonder if it does change all over the world with the translations around that. We'll see. Okay, let's get into the Canvas stuff and the things that we're going to talk about this morning. You've agreed to join us, and I'm so happy. You know, I had the pleasure of working with you. I was working this out this morning. It was 3 years ago the first time we met, and we did some work on Canvas. And I know that, you know, in your role as head of e-learning at Hull, you've done some fantastic work. Do you want to start off and just tell us a little bit about, you know, who you are, your role, and what sort of, you know, where you're at with your sort of Canvas project at Hull College Group? Yeah,
no problem at all. So, I mean, obviously my screen sharing, so I can jump straight into this. So again, I'm Khaled El-ankar. I'm head of e-learning at the Hull College Group. For us, realistically speaking, we are on this online express journey like everybody else. So at Hull College, we've got 16,000 active learners. Arguably, we've got 29,000 enrollments that go on every year. We deliver a wide variety of curriculum, obviously, but it's across multiple levels. So we've got like 14 to 16, we've got further education, higher education, apprenticeships, and all those are across multiple sites as well. So for us, we've had to have a virtual learning environment that can actually sustain that kind of impact that it's taking. So we chose Canvas. This is our second year of Canvas at Hull, arguably, with regards to our second rollover, and it's going really, really well.
Cool. So obviously, you know, you're sort of talking at the moment about, you know, that rapid journey sort of to online learning that everybody's going through at the moment. You know, how are people finding that at the moment at Hull College Group? You know, what's the sort of you know, response that you're getting from your students? And, you know, and like you said there are different levels as well. So there's, you know, there are differences between sort of 14-year-olds and than there are to, you know, people who are sort of doing further education when they're much older. You know, how are people responding to that switch with things that have been going on?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. There is obviously something there where it means that students are going to have to do stuff a lot differently, and we are going to have to think differently about the way we operate, obviously, as a building. Currently, obviously, they're locked down and we're letting learners in at sort of like social distancing measures and stuff like that's all in place. So that's all happening right now, actually, at the college. But equally, obviously, we've got to think about the numbers. How many students can we have in a room at one point in time? You know, how you know, social distancing measures and stuff like that. And how are we going to bring all this together? So we do tailor to a lot of people across up and down the country with regards to the Humber where we are. But for us, it's really about making sure that we're giving them the correct learning opportunity at every point. So sometimes we have sent packs out to people. So we've had to send packs out, and Canvas hasn't been the thing for that. But it's because of the learner and the level and what they, you know, how they deal with the opportunity that they've got in front of them. Obviously, everyone calls COVID-19 a pandemic, where I think it's probably one of the best things that's happened to us retrospectively, of the idea of online learning and how that can actually have the impact that that's taking now, and the way that teachers are getting motivated and jumping into it.
No, I get exactly what you mean with moving those people over. So, you know, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today is sort of the approach that you've taken in your role of head of learning, e-learning, and rolling sort of Canvas out. And obviously that experience, and we've spoken about COVID-19, that it's put students in a situation where they do have, a different experience to what they had before. Maybe that guidance on exactly where things are and what to do it's not the same as in the classroom. So, I know the first thing that you've got to talk to us about today is your sort of student experience and how to sort of create that sort of consistency that students sort of ask for sort of finding things easily and everything like that. We've always used the analogy here of, have you ever tried cooking in somebody else's kitchen? It's a nightmare. You don't know where things are and you're trying to find them. And so, it'd be really good if you could talk through the approach that you've taken there over sort of student consistency, because it's a massive conversation that we hear about from pretty much every university. It's like, how consistent should you be, and how do you make sort of certain aspects consistent for students in terms of their course design and navigation and things? So do you want to take us through how you've approached that?
I can do. Yeah, I mean, obviously I've got a few slides which I can show you about how we've run with this and where we've gone with it. So if I just go across here to how we've basically been supporting the staff in the form of the virtual space and how it's working. So we are, like I said, second year of Canvas right now. And for us, the first year around, we didn't use any of the bits that you see in front of you right now. It was very sort of put modules on a page and let's work out how to use a module and get these things rolling in that way. And then the second year came in and we realized that there was a level of inconsistency in the courses that were actually around. So we had some people who were flying with it and had their own pages set up and stuff. And then there was some other people who literally just had the modules, and it was the scroll of death and the fact that there was so much stuff in these modules. Okay. So we had to plan it out and sort of give them all an equal sort of level playing field. So we standardized our courses for this year just gone. Okay. So we use blueprints and master blueprint templates to standardize the courses, so they all were given sort of like the same sort of level. So they didn't just have a blank canvas, because I'll be honest, it is quite overwhelming, the fact that sometimes you've just got this course shell and you have to fill it with content. So what we've done there is we've given them a standardized template which they all use, and then they started to build on the training that we put on and everything else like that. So blueprints have been really, really, really important with regards to the rollout for this year just gone. And it will probably be the same next year as well.
Yeah. So, that use of blueprints, some of the people that are watching online today, they may be completely new to Canvas. They're looking at building their own courses and that type of things. But a lot of the time, some of the people that we have watching, they come from leadership roles, or they're sort of in similar roles to you, where they're looking at rolling out Canvas or other sort of platforms. Are you happy to take us quickly through sort of how a blueprint looks in your instance? Because I know you've got some really cool design with your things. Are you able to switch over to that?
I can. Obviously, I'll show you the slide that basically got a lot of this on to talk about how we use the master blueprint. So inside Canvas, obviously, you've got this functionality where you can create a course that is technically the blueprint or the parent of the child courses that are inside your sub accounts that you have inside of Canvas. And what this has allowed us to do is create a course homepage on every single course that's inside of Canvas, based off the levels that I spoke about earlier when I said we cater to 14 to 16, further education and higher education. And inside there, we've been able to then make these templates, which we then push out to all of the other courses. And then obviously that stuff's fed in. Benefits of that are endless with regards to blueprinting. Obviously, one of the things that we like to do as admins is be able to distribute stuff from the central admin point. So as an administrator of a sub account in Canvas, they would like to create calendar events, create web meetups, create assignments and announcements that go out into every single course that they've got within their curriculum department. Yeah. So blueprints really do cater to that. And I haven't seen that in any other virtual learning environment that I've actually worked in. So it's quite an interesting one, and I've seen massive potential in it. So, I mean, I can go straight over to our instance of Canvas and sort of give that a go. If you want me to, by all means.
Yeah, that would be cool, because I know the design that you've got, I've had the sort of pleasure of looking at some of that with you before, and the approach you've taken, it's been fantastic.
So if I pull this up, and obviously, so hopefully you can see my screen now, yeah?
Yep, and we've got
fantastic stuff. So we've got 3 templates. Well, I've got 4 templates now, because obviously Maths and English came a bit later on. But obviously the first template up here, and these are all pretty much the same thing, apart from we've just designed them slightly different to cater to the learners. Yeah. So as an example, higher education, it has basically a standard template. So if I zoom in a little bit, because I think that's a bit small to see. And what you'll see there is on the front page is you obviously get your banner, and we advise staff to obviously fill it in with some sort of introduction text, so a welcome message and a warning body and our course handbook and stuff like that. And then they'll put their contact details at the bottom as well. So with any student that comes to Canvas firsthand, when they first join a Canvas course, you'll always find that not every student knows how to use it off the bat. So obviously digital literacy skills are different for everybody. So you might have your people that are a bit older, some people that are a bit younger, some people that are just get it. Because it is that way inclined with Canvas. You actually have to, sometimes you have to figure out what it is you're working with. So we thought that a Canvas quick guide on the homepage for every single course would make sense. So from this here, and this is using the City Labs Design Plus element that we've got inside our Canvas instance, I can then click on the expander, and then what that will do is it'll expand the guides that are below. And this is fully responsive on mobile phone and tablets, so it looks like this on the phone and the tablets as well. And students can click on any one of these and then see any of the Canvas community guide videos that you have put out previously from the community. Because obviously the Canvas community has got such a wide variety of resources to help students and staff. Why reinvent the wheel? So it's already there. It's already working. So I've just we put them all into a live course for students to be able to go and access. So they can click on them now and it'll take them directly to Canvas guides for the students. They'll see all the table of content and then all these little pieces of introduction information that's on there. And it's just a really nice way of them seeing everything all in one space on the front page. A very nice, easy way to introduce them to a course.
I think that's really important, isn't it? What you've said there about using sort of, the reinventing the wheel. And I know sort of when you're considering that, it's one of the things we've got with Canvas as well, isn't it? Canvas changes, with the product in terms of new releases and things that come up. So if you were using your own guides, you're going to have to update those every time there's a change in the product with Canvas. Whereas if you're linking to our guides like that, it's up to date. It's got, what the new stuff that's coming in. So I think that's, a really, really good idea to, sort of use those sort of resources there.
Definitely. We have some more elements to the courses, because obviously we looked at the courses from the year before and we sort of asked them what was the things that you use the most. So we did a bit of an internal survey with some areas, asked them what they use the most to try and get some feedback off them. And it came out that they would use the announcements a lot. They would use assignments, discussions, the modules quite a lot. So we put them there as quick links. So when I say quick links, because obviously on the mobile phone, if you go straight to the home page, you'll have those quick links sat at the top, which means they can go straight to the assignment from when they've hit their front page. So if there might be an announcement sat on there or something on there that they need to know, they can go straight to somewhere else from that place, and they'll always stay there in that top corner. So that was from the curriculum when we asked them, what is it that didn't work well last year that we want to do this year? Can we keep reflecting and keep making that, doing that cycle? That's teaching and learning. So the next thing we said to them again is, how can we make your course stand out? How can we give it a bit more oomph, or give it some things to, to make it work better for your learners? And what they said is that they want to try and add other resources inside of their course, but not a lot of them knew how to add like external tools, external links and stuff like that. So what we did there is we added the more resources button on top of their course. So as soon as they click that inside their Canvas course, they'll get sent straight to the library e-resources area. So this is locked content, which technically means that no tutors can actually edit this page. The librarians will be able to edit this page and update it with any of the resources that they get. So we had one of our students that came for work experience from the 14 to 16 school, and he created these little icons for us in Canva, which was quite interesting. And there's other stuff on there, like links to the, the Twitter feed and stuff like that. But from here, we've also got like top 10 e-resources, journals. Then you've got your ebooks and all the audio visual, and you can even book a library PC from this area as well. So if you click on book a library PC, it'll take you off to the system where we use to book library spaces. So students can actually book a library seat from their mobile phone on the way in, on the bus, whatever. So if they want to try and grab a laptop for a bit or something, they can directly from their Canvas course, which from feedback, obviously COVID-19 has taken them away for a little bit, but so far it was quite nice to know that that button's been hit quite a lot.
I think that's a great idea, isn't it? Though it's like, we have all these different systems that we use in organizations, institutions, like you've got like the library booking, things like timetabling and stuff and everything along those lines. And those systems work really, really well. So I think what I like what you've done there is it's not a case of trying to recreate something that works elsewhere directly within Canvas. You're using that tool still, but the thing is you're using Canvas as that sort of one-stop place to go to begin with. Okay, I'm in Canvas. Wait a minute. I know with my learning and my course, I need to do this. And you've designed it in a way that means that that's really easy for them to get to. I know some other people will probably ask about, sort of the buttons and the things you've got. What you said earlier on there was that you use something called CD Labs, which is a plugin with Canvas. Do you just want to talk a little bit through, why you decided to go down that route with using sort of an external sort of design tool that plugs into Canvas? What was the reasoning and the thought process behind that?
So, I mean, obviously, some of the things that people were wanting to create within their courses were tabs and accordions and other little bits like that. And obviously, I've got a team of, well, it's 3, but obviously, realistically speaking, it's only 2 staff members per week. So I'm really going to have to think on my toes as to how am I going to be able to get my e-learning technologists to be able to go and support those people and create those pages with them. And obviously there was the skill set was obviously something which needed to be accountable at that point in time. And was it feasible? Where with City Labs, you can literally drag and drop these elements directly onto your Canvas course. So it made more sense from a HTML sort of side of things that not everyone was a web developer, and no teacher's a web developer as well, realistically speaking, unless they taught it. So how were we going to get that functionality in courses for people to be able to use? And City Labs just stood out as one of those things which really made it a lot easier.
Okay, because I noticed we've got somebody online, Peter Nixon, who is another great person in the Canvas world that I've had the pleasure of working with, but I've not managed to speak to him for a couple of years now. But Peter Nixon's online, and he's got a question. I'll see if we can get that popped up. So he's loving the template, but how do you achieve the dynamic links from the blueprint course so that each assignment link goes to the course's assignments? So is that through City Labs? So when you put a link to the assignments page, does it automatically update that when you go to other courses?
Exactly that. So it uses the same sort of, I believe, and this is don't quote me on that 100%, but I believe that it uses the same sort of technology that's sat within your Commons function. So when you send something off to Commons and you can use it from the Commons area and pull it down into your course, then it will just adhere to your settings within your area. So I believe it does use some sort of technology with regards to that. But obviously I don't know too much about the tech. All I do know is that all the links dynamically work perfectly, and I haven't had any issues with any of them. Okay,
perfect. But so Peter, that one's through CD Labs, which is what they're using at a whole college group along those lines. Okay, so in terms of the response to this, you've sort of gone for that option where you said, look, there needed to be some consistency. People were at different stages, and you wanted to go down that route of the consistency, and you've got a fantastic sort of design there for this. In terms of then sort of the interactions between the teachers once they're using those courses with their students, and you spoke earlier on your slide about things such as the speed grader, the conferences and things around that area. Do you want to talk a little bit about sort of how teachers are using these courses and the interactions they're having with the students, the things that they're finding are having the sort of the big impacts there?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I'll jump back over. I will, let me just take this one off, take that one off, and then we'll go back into this. And here we are. Cool. So obviously you can see that right now, yeah?
Yeah, we've got that up. That's great.
Brilliant stuff. So we've been working on quite a few things in Canvas with regards to, and the things that I'm seeing out of the teachers when they're working and they're doing what they're doing is the fact that right now we're in a position where obviously everything's completely different to what it would have been previous. No face-to-face contact and all this kind of stuff. So as teachers are really having to think outside the box as to what it is they actually do and when they and how they deliver. So the 4 or 5 things that I took away from it was the fact that we've all had to change our jobs in the way that we work. And one of the things that's come out in this case is the HE, the higher education teachers, and how they're utilizing the studio function inside of Canvas. So we added this about a year ago. So so the second year of us using Canvas, we added that one in because we saw it as a valuable asset to have for people who wanted to create learning content. Little did we know that this whole COVID-19 thing was even going to start off, but we added it because we saw the value of it at the time, and the fact that lectures could be recorded or things could be recorded and put up, and tutors could start curating their own content. And then one of the things that I found is that staff are working really independently and easily with this application. So inside of Canvas, people are able to actually create content, and when they create their videos, their slide decks and everything like that, and they go through kind of like what we're doing in this live stream, that the Studio is allowing them to do some fantastic pieces within their modules when they create it. So it's an asynchronous methodology. So technically what that means is that students can come back at any time and revisit that content. And I thought that was really powerful in the way that they can keep coming back and adding questions or asking questions to what looks like a little discussion box underneath the studio files that get created. Now, this is also being used for flipped learning. And when I say flipped learning, I mean in its fullest, how I could see flipped learning with actual activities and quizzes inside it as well. So it can be used in a variety of different ways. And for me, the successes of that would probably be just the fact that the learners are able to do this remotely at any point in time that they want. So we have got people who are obviously adults and parents, and they're catering to their children and whatnot in the day, because obviously everyone's at home. So being able to have this as a replay at night is kind of like an on-demand service, which is really good.
No, I agree with you completely. And I think, the things that you're saying there about the engagement with the video, I think back when I was still in the classroom teaching, and, you used to put basically put in like a YouTube video or something that you'd share with them, or you'd send them out with an email and stuff. But for them to actually be able to engage and ask the questions whilst they're in there and have those discussions and get that understanding of the concepts or the misconceptions around the video, I think that's, that's sort of one of the fantastic tools with, with Studio. You've said that, the resources are being created by staff members independently. How are they doing that? Is that their sort of, using videos for their subject that they've had before, or are they, are you seeing people moving more to recording themselves and screen recordings and things? How's it going?
Really good. I take it as an example, and this is not really necessarily in the higher education, but in further education. I know one tutor who's actually recorded herself cutting hair on one of the tuition dolls for the hair and beauty area, and she's put that up online and allowed students to comment back, and she was showing them the technique. So it's surprising how it's not literally just delivering slides and going over it like that, but it's more practical based activities that students can then ask questions back within the discussion, like, I don't quite understand, how did you do it this way, you put the comb that way, why did you do that? And more discussion can happen, and that is another way where you can see the practical side or the vocational side of the qualification actually come to light online, which is really surprising.
I love those examples. It's, sometimes there can be a focus sometimes, can't they, on sort of written work and that type of thing within the platform where, okay, let's upload an assessment. But you're giving another great example of some of the things that we're seeing across some fantastic colleges, where the sort of the practical aspects of things that are being shown like that. And I've got similar stories there. I was working with a college near London, doing similar things in the sort of the electrical installation side of it, where they had they were using sort of video and studio for students who were on site. So basically the students would upload a video themselves, and then there was the discussion with the tutor about what they've been doing there. So I think, the way that's been used is fantastic. Okay. So
it's really good then.
What would you say would be the next sort of big thing then that people have been sort of using or, engaging with the students with, or has had the biggest impact?
Speed grader realistically for maths and English. Now, I did a video on this because obviously I've also got my little YouTube channel, which I make little videos on to show the teachers how to use the technology. And then within that, obviously, I noticed that one tutor for the inset week that we had at the college, so it was an online week that basically tutors would put up how they're utilizing the virtual learning environment or the online space. And one tutor in particular put up how she was utilizing SpeedGrader for mathematics, so maths, and how she was using that. And I was, again, blown away because these people didn't necessarily have the training or the full training on SpeedGrader, but they managed to be able to figure out how to use that on their own, and they utilize that product. So the maths and English courses have got, you can imagine, obviously maths and English is global, isn't it? Everyone's got either studying maths and English if you're a returning student, or if you're a continuing student with us as well, depending on what's going on. So looking at the way that these people are utilizing this product, that course has got almost 100 learners on it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like, how are they going to be able to use this application, and really how much is it going to benefit them? And I wasn't sure until they told me what they've realized in general. So what they told me in return is how much paper they saved, the amount of trolleys that they used to run around with. And I see them in the halls, and I never thought anything of it. I thought, okay, that's just them bringing their bags, but it actually is a lot of the students' work, which they're having to do manually and mark manually.
Yeah.
And I found out that obviously that they started to utilize this service or the product within Canvas, and it's just come on heaps and bounds. They're now providing extension tasks for the learners. So what they're actually doing there is, within the annotated comments that are on the side, they're actually able to add additional resources. So obviously on the screenshot that's there, you can see that she's adding the assignment comments like she would have done normally, but at the same time she's realized that the student hasn't quite grasped this element. So she's provided them with a YouTube link to try and solidify that learning and try and get it the second time around. And it's being done online. It's the same way they would have done technically in the classroom, obviously, but she would have been the one that would have been delivering it. But if she can use a YouTube clip quite easily and then attach another PDF to it for them to do as an extension task, it just completely changes the game for this individual right now. She's really enjoying doing it. She's able to put her own audio and video on there. So she's just really finding it a very interesting way of doing it. And she's managing to actually get through a lot more than what she would have done when she was, going through paper and going through them one by one and having to upload it to a spreadsheet and something else, because it's all stored in the grade book.
Yeah. And I think that time messaging that you're saying there for teachers, we've mentioned this on sort of other sessions and things with, where we've had sort of Jess Jones as our trainers there. But what you've spoken there about the paper and that side of it, it's just, I'm thinking, I've got a little 6-year-old and she's got exercise, but she's at home, we're working on that. She gets through that, and she's 6, and I remember back to the teaching days of, you used to sit in the car. I used to sit in the car park and wait for my wife to come out of work, and you'd see the other teachers, 2 plastic bags sort of full of books and exercise books, to walk out, to then take that home and mark. And, the number of times you knew that they carried them home and then didn't have time that night, so they carried them back in, then carried them home again. And it's just, that sort of feature there. So, I fully understand that teacher that you're talking about there, how they're saying it's making their life easier sort of around that and having that impact. And so are they saying that, 100 students, giving feedback for 100 students is a large amount. Are they saying that that's having a benefit on their time? Is it creating more of a dialogue with the students? Or?
Yeah, what they're saying is they're actually using the time more effectively. So when a notification comes in from Canvas saying that, little Bobby has completed this task or whatever, that then she'll know straight away that that's happened, because she gets a notification at the end of the day for all the people that have submitted to that assignment. So she knows that, and she's kept in the loop with that. So it's not a case of next time she sees that person that they pass that in or anything like that, and then she goes and marks it. No, it's actually happening a lot quicker because of that turnaround time, and she's able to put that feedback in place and get it there a lot quicker. Hopefully, again, having a positive impact on the destination this person's going. So
perfect. I just noticed Kenji's asking a few questions about the links that you've got in your slide deck. What we'll do, Kenji, is we'll get those links from Cal afterwards, and what we'll do is we'll make sure that we get them put in the comments on. I can see you're on YouTube where you're watching this, so what we'll do is we'll get those links out for you. They are for the Canvas community. We'll make sure that they all go out for you. And I know, Kenji, you've asked a question about Studio as well. What we'll do is we'll go through sort of the other things Cal's going to talk about, and then we'll answer all your questions at the end of the session that we've got with this as well. Okay, so so this dialogue that you're getting with the students there is taking place obviously asynchronously, which is, I think is sometimes I don't know if underestimated is the word, but people have got different circumstances, haven't they? They're online at different times. Somebody else is using a computer and things, so they need to access things. But in terms of the connection and the synchronous stuff, at the beginning of your presentation, you said that, you've been using conferences as well. How's that been going for the students? How have they been responding to that? How have teachers been using that? What's the situation there?
So, and I'll be honest, I think that conferences in its own light is more around the well-being and the learning objective that you're actually trying to accomplish at that point in time. Well-being for our students in the 14 to 16 area. I saw a lecturer, and I'll be honest, he is again another fantastic example. So he uses the big blue button. Obviously, it's just a screenshot of one of his recordings that he had on his page. But arguably, you see all these concluded conferences that are in that little white box on the side. They are endless. There's a lot of them, and he's been doing them regularly with his learners. I mean, one of them was yesterday. So what he's been doing there, he's been putting it up and he's been allowing them to chat. He's been offering them the breakout room function, and he's been doing other little bits inside there, which has really been able to benefit from the students and make them feel as if they're in that classroom again. I know they're not. We can't completely, have that classroom exactly the way it was, but at least within this digital format, he's able to actually put on something which is as close as it can be. Obviously, I've heard in this video his cat's meowing in the background, and the kids are enjoying it and liking that, and it adds a bit of humor to that situation, makes the person feel human. And I think from a well-being point of view, it's really, really strong. Yeah,
no, I agree with you. I think that sort of empathy for the situation the students are in, and that side of it. I know, we've had a few live streams from the US where we've had sort of, people's kids coming in. That's the reality of the situation we're in at the moment, isn't it? And, teachers are real people. I know if there aren't any students watching, they'll probably turn around and say, no, they're not, but they are. And they've got, sort of their own lives out, and they have got pets and cats and things. So, you're using the big blue button, which is sort of is what comes with Canvas along those lines. I noticed that you've got, sort of like the other icons there for sort of the other tools that plug into Canvas. If people are using these, are people using those other tools as well on that side of things? Things like the new Teams integration or anything?
So obviously, I mean, as an admin for Canvas, obviously, I've just gone and turned it on. So I follow the documentation. It was only a couple of weeks back and turned it on because I knew it was in there. And we are utilizing Teams as a communication tool within our own college for staff. So if that be the case, then we should also see what we can do with other applications that we've got. And because it just links straight in, it was a perfect fit. It was quite easy for me to do. I've already started, creating that training module, because sometimes teachers need training, despite the Canvas guys being great and they do the purpose of what they need to do. Sometimes they need training from somebody they know. Do you know what I mean? If it's training from someone they know, they feel a bit more comfortable about it. So that's not necessarily students, more staff. So with regards to Teams, I've been putting some training together on showing them how they set up it inside the Canvas courses. Some of the benefits of that, though, is the fact that you can link it directly to the calendar. So you can put an event inside your calendar, which is that Teams meeting. So it appears on the Canvas student app for the same reason, the same sort of way for students. Likewise with Zoom and Google Hangouts, I've got an area in Creative Arts who like to use Google Hangouts. So if they do, we turned it on, we added it as Canvas, and then they're now using it within Canvas. So the flexibility is fantastic in the way, the fact that we can just plug these things in, because we've already got them within our subscriptions to Google and Microsoft and all these other big players. So just turning it on is it's a no-brainer. If that's what the person wants to use and they feel comfortable using it, we just want them to use a tool to be able to do what they need to do best. So to do that is great.
Yeah, no, cool. That's great. So, you've spoken there about sort of training and having training from people that I suppose it gives people that sort of safe space to ask the questions. I think, if they're going through that. But how have you approached sort of the professional development of staff? Because obviously, initially moving to Canvas anyway, you would have had a rollout plan. You would have had, sort of users that you knew that you needed to train up. And then, like you said earlier, the sort of the COVID-19 situation, awful with the situation that it is. But in terms of sort of people developing sort of skills, it sort of forced them and maybe sped things up and there's some benefits there in that sense of developing their skills. But how are you developing the skills of the teachers so that they can do these things? You've given 2 examples of teachers that are using tools really, really well. So how's that process working at Hull?
So again, it's another one of those things right now where we are away from each other. So we are struggling to get that training in place, but we are using every means in the form of these conferencing tools you've just seen a second ago to be able to get those training bits in place. So within Canvas, we have a staff development area. So it's Staff Dev 101. And this is technically our staff training area for any of our new onboarding staff or or staff that have been with us for a while. And this allows us to be able to put sort of course. It's one course, but inside there is a multitude of little courses which people can do in bite-sized chunks. So they can do them on their own, or they can do them with a technologist, or with myself, or with a member of the quality team. So as an example, recently the quality team just released a little flipped learning sort of training, bite-sized training module. But we've got all of our mandatory activities that we want all staff to complete when they first come. And obviously we've linked it to the Badger application. So staff get CPD awarded for it, within an internal CPD accreditation sort of thing. So that means that they've approved that. And we then put that on their training records. So because Canvas is quite open in the fact that we can use it, the learning technologists are actually quite savvy with regards to using the APIs that are inside of Canvas. So they've managed to take some of the stuff that's inside of Canvas and then feed it into the HR system, which is working wonders, because that means that managers know when the mandatory training has been completed and other people know when stuff is happening, and it's just making sense. All these things are clicking together now. But it's been about a year's worth of development. So on this course, you can go and complete the Keeping Children Safe for Education, cybersecurity, any of the things that are the sort of mandatory. But at the same time, we've also left a block at the bottom for optional activities. So these are more, for instance, what I would see as EdTech-based training bites. So Office and other areas. I could show it to you if you like. Yeah,
that'd be cool. If you can go in and show us what that looks like for a teacher, that'd be fantastic.
Just bear me 1 second.
No problem.
Right, okay. Need another tab open. There you go. Right.
We'll just get that shared again. There we go.
Right, so obviously, again, all staff members, when they come to the college, they will automatically be enrolled onto the staff training materials sort of site course. Inside there, like I said, was bite-sized chunks. So, for instance, there's a little banner here for the online good practice session. So in here was like a week or a couple of weeks where the quality team had gone and picked out individual staff members that thought were excelling in their online delivery, and then put them, sort of get them to make little videos and tutorials on how to do it. So we're sharing best practice within our own organization. And then we put them onto this site where they can then be clicked and linked to. And some of them were live sessions. So there were Zoom links and Teams links and all kinds of stuff inside there. But we use that as just a little banner so anyone can get on there and get what they need from there.
I love that. I'm just thinking of that. It's one of the things that we, that sort of in my role where I'm working on the rollout with colleges and universities on their Canvas, it's sort of one of the things that we sometimes forget, that one of the best resources we can learn from is actually the teachers. It's not necessarily me going in and telling people how to use Canvas. It's sort of sharing the stories of how real teachers use Canvas in a really good way. Or for you there, I suppose we're talking, any use of sort of educational technology tools. They're the best people. They're the people that have got the influence, haven't they, that over other teachers. If I'm teaching, I want to see another teacher and have a real concrete example about how it's benefited the students and how they've used that. So that idea that you've got there of sharing the success stories, I really, really like that.
And that's exactly the reason why. Is because at the end of the day, the buy-in from any staff member or even myself, if I can see somebody else telling me why this is good for me, this is a reason for me to actually get engaged and then see have a look around and start, sniffing, seeing what's going on. And this is exactly what happened with the staff. They just did that themselves. Obviously, they came up and they put their links up there, and some people were doing Zoom sessions on how to use Zoom, and some people were using other stuff like Kahoot in the classroom. Some people were using augmented reality, virtual reality projects.
Cool.
Really, really cool. They really got, they really explored it. So, and this is all because it's all in staff dev, and everyone knows that staff dev's there, and they can always go in there and do whatever they need to do inside there. So, like I said, you got your mandatory blocks, which are here, and obviously then you've got the mandatory for the academic and support only. So some area of, so this is the idea. So the business side of the organization also do this training as well. So it's not a case of it's just for teachers; it's for everybody. Okay. And obviously, we will then go and see this compulsory for managers, so they have to do some other stuff. And the optional activity for staff is where I start to get a bit happy, because obviously you've got some of the other areas, other resources that we've sort of bought into. So the Blended Learning Consortium, which is a fantastic resource that I would tell anyone to go have a look at that. That's really good for Canvas courses. Then obviously we've got the Canvas conference training, which you can see over here. So I had to do this training a couple of days before we was like going, and that's it, we was going to go on lockdown. So I just did it inside staff development and get everyone to come to a Canvas conference, and inside there we spoke and I explained to them what we're doing inside a conference, because not everybody was on site. Like I said, I had to support people that were in Goole and some people that were up and down the Humber. So it was quite an interesting one to be able to do it directly from staff development, and that's one of the benefits of having a course like this. So
are these all links to sort of individual snippets, or are they links to other Canvas courses which they enroll in and then?
Yeah, so some are links to other courses. So for instance, like this one is a link to another course called the Growing with Canvas course, which is available from the community, the Canvas community anyway, which I think is, again, another good start off for anybody who wants to come in and know, see the reins of Canvas, but from an online perspective and doing it on their own. I'm in there as a teacher, and I will mark people off once they send me their screenshots of what they've done and what they can do inside their sandboxes, which is really interesting. And some people actually blow me away with what they can do inside their sandboxes, and it's just because their level of creativity is them. That's their job. That's what they do as a teacher. But for me, I work out of this course here. So this is the EdTech Toolkit for Educators. So if anybody knows me, then I've been singing it from like the mountains and the rooftops with regards to what I've been doing for trying to get people involved with Canvas and how you can utilize the products inside it. So inside here for the e-learning team, we can do content development requests in the form of e-learning content. We also have a how-to tutorials section, which is getting bigger. So it's how you can do stuff inside Canvas, but it's by us. And now I know you said obviously the Canvas stuff inside the community is good, but sometimes, again, tutors just want to see us doing it on a machine which is like their machine, exactly the same thing, blue screen at the background, Hull College logo in the top corner, and they want to see it the same way that what they see. So we did it and we put it in place. So we are starting to put these things together, and these are just simple little snippets where they can go in and work out how to do stuff. So as an example here in this one here, they're looking at studio at advanced levels, and there's a PDF guide which is from the community. But again, it allows them to have a look at this and go through it step by step. And a lot of people have given feedback to me that that was a really good way for them to learn. And it sort of shows them that they can start to do this as well, because all I'm doing is using the studio application to make these videos. So they could do it for their own learners, which is really beneficial all in.
No, that's really cool. And I've seen some of the stuff that you've been putting out on Twitter with your sort of tutorials and the EdTech thing, the EdTech sort of tools and step-by-step sort of run-throughs and stuff. That's really, really cool. Just noticing we're getting some questions coming in that we'll just need to consider. So Inga's asking if she can ask questions. Yeah, we'll take the questions, and I've just seen we're putting some up there. I'm not sure. I've not got any experience about Bitmoji classrooms and how they show on the iPad. But what we can do, Inga, is we can have a look, and I can see if sort of any of our team back at Canvas have any ideas on that one, and we can try and put some comments back in or into Facebook for you to have a look at that. And also you've asked your question there on, do you have the suggestion of where to get the accordion HTML? So there is basically a guide that I can find on the community, and I'll send that through to you, which is where you can add HTML directly into this. Do you just want to quickly recover what you were doing with City Labs earlier, maybe not showing it, but just your accordion came from the plugin tool that you use for design from City Labs, isn't it, Cal?
Yeah, exactly. So within the City Labs tool, you have got the opportunity to create accordions. You can do tabs. You can create like modules, like module prerequisites and stuff on one page, which is really nice. So it allows you a lot of additional flexibility, flexi sort of ways where you can sort of make this more dynamic and how it looks on pages. Yeah. I'm not the best at HTML. I'll be honest. I don't think any teacher is either. So that's me. That's my background is teaching and sort of computer technologies, but it doesn't mean that I'm a HTML whiz. I search the community for that kind of stuff. And even then, the community offers some really good tips and tricks on how to do these things as well.
Yeah. We'll get those guides in there for you, sort of, Inga, so that goes in. But like Cal said, City Labs, it's, you can find them. It's a tool that plugs into Canvas. Sort of some organizations purchase that to be able to design sort of some of the templates and things that they use in a bit more detail. No worries. It's like we've been saying, it's the real world, isn't it? It's a thing.
It is. Yeah. He popped in to say somebody at the door. It doesn't make a difference to me. Okay. Anyway, no bother. So it depends where you want to go. I've got a final bit which just came from the learners. So with COVID-19 happening and being the way it was, we've asked the students what they've thought about the lockdown and what's going on with the lockdown and whatnot. And the feedback came from one of our Access to HE learners. And basically what she said there is that without this Canvas course, that she would be really stuck, and using the conferences to be able to keep accessing the materials and new topics whilst she's not at the college. Yep. So I've just thought that if anything was icing on the cake, really. It proves that those things that we've been talking about previously have actually had an impact on somebody.
Yeah. And that's what we're here for, isn't it? That, and it's, and I sort of think it's probably the best bit of my job, on this side. Yeah, I used to work in a classroom, but the thing that I get now is I get to work with people like you. I get to work with people that are coming in on the sort of the comments, and I get to see that across all of Europe. And basically, it's just you see people having an impact on young people, or I say young people. It's everybody's learning life, and it's it's somebody's really, really trying to learn. Somebody wants to make themselves better at something. And it's just like the fact that you've got people like yourself who are empowering teachers to be able to do that. And then when you get that feedback, I agree with you. It's just fantastic. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And, the work that you're doing at Hall College Group, with the different age groups and all the different sort of courses and things that you're offering, I think it's just fantastic. And the sort of the work you can see that you put in there is just phenomenal, for those students, just to make sure that experience is as good as it could be. That is great. No, that's really nice feedback. Do you sort of put surveys out, to gather the feedback from the students? How does that come about? Is it sort of, surveys on particular courses? Is it just, you've got people sitting down having conversations with it? How do you gather all that learning from all these different stakeholders?
That's another one which obviously, again, you can utilize your blueprints for. So as an example, obviously inside the blueprints, I put a link to a Microsoft form or a Google form. It could have been whichever. And it just asked them to kindly fill it out as part of our learner survey. So we've had a learner survey 1, a learner survey 2, and we will eventually do learner survey 3. Again, it'll be all online the same way as it was previously. And when you put them inside there, and then obviously you then distribute those pages out to courses, then students will fill that out. And it's very discreet. They've got it on their course. They get a notification that it's come through and they've asked to it. And then we get look at the feedback and we evaluate that. And we see whereabouts it's worked. And we can see from our teachers and the ones that maybe aren't too engrossed in Canvas, and we can realize that where the gaps are. And we can sort of be able to then supply that support to the student, to the staff member if he needs it or she needs it, or so on and so forth. But I see what you're saying. It's nice to have an evaluation at the end of every sort of term, which would be really good. I know higher education definitely do it.
Yeah, it's just that, the best people to learn from are the students who are actually taking part in it, isn't it? They've got they're going to be straight with you and give you those honest answers. We've actually got, I'm just conscious of the time that we've got, Cal, and we've got, another question that's come up in the, that we didn't answer earlier actually about the studio, but it was from Kenji, who's asked us about in studio. Does the video pause when it reaches an interaction port, and are the responses visible to all users, or are they limited to the author?
Okay, can you go just one more time with that one? So give me it again.
So in studio, in studio, does the video pause when it reaches an interaction point? So that's question one.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when you've got things like say it's a pop-up multiple choice question, that side of things, it will pause and the students can then answer sort of the question there. Are the responses visible to all users, or are they limited to the author?
So the responses are, so for the person who created the quiz, which would normally be the teacher on the course, they can see the responses. So if there was multiple tutors on one course, as an example, or lecturers, then they would be able to see the responses for the students that are on that course participating in that quiz.
Yeah.
So the answer is, so I say yes, then in that case. I think it is one person, but also if there was multiple tutors, then they'd all see it. So
yeah, and I think it depends as well, doesn't it? It's if the interaction points that we're talking about are the quiz questions, and basically that's like an assignment, that's going to be between the student and the teacher, depending on how you set it up in terms of like the video with where studio videos can be used. It's also a depends sort of answer there as well, Kenji, because it could be that if it's a discussion video you've created, everybody in the course could be viewing the comments of each other and interacting with each other. But if it's an assignment that you've set where a student submits a video, it could then just be between the teacher and that student individually. So there's options there with that for you in studio for how you create them. And I think it's like you've been saying with a lot of the things that there's flexibility there in the way that things work.
Sure.
Cool. Let's just scroll down. So Inga, what we'll do, the City Labs is a paid for service that some organizations go with, but there are some other options for sort of HTML where there are some templates on the community. So once we finish the session, what we'll do is we'll make sure that we get somebody to put some comments in Facebook with some of the links to the guides about where you can add sort of some HTML, and it's got some bits if you're looking for a simple accordion within your course, where it's a case of just copying and pasting that HTML in and then just editing the text within it, for a simple accordion if you're working on the courses yourself. So we'll get that into the comments after this session's finished. We'll see. We'll just give people a moment just to see if there's any more questions that people want to ask us today. I can see we've got Jess Jones on again. Somebody who works very closely in the team with me on the learning consultants, and she really likes the way that your teachers add in the additional learning activities that directly relate to that learner's progress, as well as the usual assignment feedback. So I'm sure she'll steal that tip, use that in some of the consultants she works with other users. To go for that, but no, it's a great idea. It's so simple, isn't it? But just has such an impact. I'll ask you one last question, Cal, before we sort of finish this morning. What do you think's next then for sort of e-learning call it e-learning, education technology, online learning, whichever area of education with technology? Where do you see it going at Hull College Group? What's your sort of next sort of goals? What are the things that you'd like to achieve and do?
Personally, as a team, we want to try and be able to reach any and every student. So the idea is we want to try and provision some online courses. So we're looking at how we can utilize Canvas and the catalog, or Canvas and maybe some of the other features that we've got at the college to be able to provision online courses. We've actually made our first online course for Gould College, which is due to be released quite soon. And that was done completely on Canvas. So it can be done, and we're just trying to make sure that we've got the right learning outcomes in place and with the correct awarding bodies and whatnot. But for us, I see online learning being in your pocket, be able to do it when you want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think really, for instance, Canvas really does excel to that.
Yeah, no, perfect. Actually, we've just got, for some of the stuff that you're doing where you're talking about that course design and learning outcomes and things like that. Martin Rowley on LinkedIn, he's given us another question. Do you use Canvas for your apprenticeships, and does the structure differ to your standard courses? So, so if you've got students working on apprenticeships, I know you gave a really good example of the teacher in terms of the sort of the hair and beauty type courses. Do you have things differently for those other types of courses?
So, I mean, obviously, we're trying to work out what is the best way for, the standards and the frameworks and stuff like that, and to see how they would fit inside a Canvas. Because obviously, you've got like learning outcomes and mastery paths and all this kind of stuff. But I don't see why you wouldn't use it for your apprenticeships. I know we do use it for our apprenticeships that are filled with our further education students. Yeah. So those are the ones that are on apprenticeship, but at the same time a part of the further education. So they're learning within the FE sort of area for, I think it's bricklaying. I do believe one of the courses is, and the learners are actually flying with it. So it can be done.
Yeah, I know we've seen some other colleges around the UK that have been using specifically things like the mobile apps that you can use with the Canvas courses, for their apprenticeships, because it gives the opportunity for the students to submit evidence whilst they're in their work placements. And also what I've seen some doing is they've been enrolling, I'm trying to think of the title, sort of the workplace mentor into those courses as well, to help provide evidence and give feedback. And it sort of meant that there's been the dialogue between,
the assessor.
The assessor. Yeah. So either the assessors or the supervisors in the workplace. And it's been creating that dialogue between more people. So, I'm seeing it in other institutions as well, where they're using Canvas simply because of the fact that the students are going off to other places to learn and work, and that's being complemented with what they're doing within the colleges and the universities as well. So yeah, we're seeing that a lot, Martin, as well. Perfect. I don't think we're going to get any more questions coming in, and we're nearly at our time today. But Khaled, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It's what I love doing, just talking to people about education and that side of things. So I really appreciate your time for this. If people don't realize, Khaled was on the call last week watching us as we're talking with Simon Lee, and he agreed to come on because he asked some really great questions last week, and it was just, I need to talk to Khaled again. It's been such a long while. So I really appreciate your time this morning and the work that you put in, for your presentation and those demonstrations. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and thank you again for doing what you're doing. Obviously, I didn't even know about direct shares until you guys told me on that last episode, and then that was what I went straight out to the teachers with. So I think it's great to have this kind of communication. It's spot on for me.
Yeah, perfect. No, it's been a pleasure, sir, and I'm sure we'll see you on some other sessions. And what we'll do is, like I said before to people online, we'll get the links out, and for people who are watching a recording of this, we'll get the links out in the comments. For everybody, and make sure that everybody's got access to the things that we've spoken about today. But thank you very much once again. And this is where we do the goodbye from him, goodbye from me, which I can never remember which TV show it was from. It's probably shows my age, but there was some Saturday night show that I used to watch with goodbye from him, goodbye from me, but I can't remember
which side you are right now. I don't know.
You're over. No, you're that way. Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much. See you later. Okay. Cheers. Bye bye.